Hello and welcome to the Young People Know More podcast. We are your hosts,
Ben Edwards,
Lewis Young,
and Tyler Ewing.
We are Additum Theatre, and this is our podcast, Young People Know More.
To kick off the episode, we'll be playing a game we call Exposed, where we ask a question to help you, the audience, and us to get to know each other a bit better. So today's question is, if you had one word to describe each other, what would it be?
To describe Ben, I'm going to say organised. Just because pretty much everything we've done, you've always kept on time and kind of like kept us to schedule, if that makes sense. And then to describe Tyler, we'll go with caring. Because all the way up in Barnstable, just to link to the last episode, pretty much every day he'd message and go, "Hello, how are we?" And I was like, "Lovely." And we'd always check in with each other. So that's my two.
I would say, Ben, I'm going to go off a bit. He can be organised. Well, he can actually. That's for Lewis. You're not organised. But for Ben, yeah. I'd say with what we were talking about today, with the lovely show, I'd say that was not really organised, but there was reasons. But for Ben, I'm trying to think of one. Inquisitive. I'm just using big words. I don't even know what that means. What does that mean again? Ben, you're on the dictionary.
You want to know things, you want to learn.
I'd say, yeah, you're inquisitive then, because you love to learn.
You just went with the first big word you thought of. That was really lovely of you, Tyler.
I'm sorry. I did think about it, and then I just didn't know the definition. Lewis, let's have a think. I had one, and now I forgot it. We'll come back to me. Okay, Ben.
All right.
Wow, thank you.
My word for Lewis, I'm going to go with passionate. I think Lewis is someone who cares a lot about, everything he does and really puts his effort into it, especially just in terms of his acting. He's one of those people who always just, will give 100% and go for it.
Oh, thank you.
And he's great. I mean, my other option was, smarmy.
Nope,
so
we'll stick with passionate.
What does that mean?
Just, a bit annoying and full of himself.
Wow, thank you. Yeah, we'll stick with passionate.
But, yeah, we'll go with passionate.
Okay, thank you. You've helped me decide my word. But anyway, what's your word for me, Ben?
I think I'm gonna go with creative.
Okay, thank you.
You're always coming to me with different ideas and perspectives on things and finding the right solutions, or really good, interesting solutions around stuff, and it's solved a lot of our problems we've had in the past with the show. You've gotten us through a lot with just your creativity and your quick thinking, and
thank you.
This was quite a nice exposed question.
Yeah. And I was kind of ready to be meaner, and then Lewis was really nice, and so I was like, okay, that'll be nice.
Oh no, I'm not going to be nice. Lewis, you're egotistical.
Thank you.
That's fair.
I think everyone has an ego, though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You know how to show it in a
oversized.
jokey way. It's
Yeah.
You don't mean it, but we know some parts you can be a real asshole. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, that's the thing. Whenever I'm, quote, egotistical, I'm always joking about it. There's never, a mean side to it, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think we all kind of do that.
Mirror.
I think all three of us kind of play up our egos, but I think you just kind of do it the most.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the most, to us at least, synonymous with, your humour. So we've all done our words. What we're going to move on to now is our musicals tier list.
Mm-hmm.
So every episode we add 2 musicals to our tier list until we have tier listed every single musical that has ever been made. That's the goal. So far, in the perfection tier, we have Come From Away, and in the great tier, we have Heathers. And that's all we've done so far. So our first musical today is Mean Girls the Musical.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts?
I've done this all the time. I've seen Mean Girls snippets of the movie. I've not watched it fully, but I've not watched the musical. So see, this is where my understanding is bottom, not good.
So what you've seen from the movie, what do you think?
I do like the movie. I think it's amazing. It's hilarious. It's everything. But how they adapted it to a musical, I don't have a clue.
Honestly, it's so good. They did was it a Broadway run, I'm pretty sure?
Yeah.
And they used screens and stuff, and honestly I was blown away. I haven't watched the whole musical. I've seen snippets of it, but from what I have seen, it is amazing. There's a couple out there that I love. It's Stars at the end of the show. It's a really good kind of anthem, I guess, for the show.
I think it's pretty good. I think it's such a good take on the original story, and it takes it in a slightly different direction that I really enjoy. And it does that thing that I think musicals do so well, where it takes characters who can come across as very one-dimensional in the film and gives them so much more depth. You really feel bad for Regina George a lot in the musical, I find.
Yeah.
And stuff, and I think it's done really well. I think some of the songs are really good, some of them not so good, but
I think the one big thing that most people have heard of from the Mean Girls musical is the casting of Aaron. There was a big thing of casting a influencer as Aaron to get more ticket sales, and people weren't too happy about it.
Who was it who played Aaron?
So the guy who played Aaron was Cameron Dallas, who I don't think had any musical theatre experience before, but he was there for 4 weeks, and yeah, people weren't too happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair enough. I don't think we need any more nepotism in the theatre industry, personally. But yeah, the other thing about Mean Girls, and I should have said this more when we spoke about Heathers last week, is that it does feature Barrett Wilbur-Weed, who plays Janice, and I just think she's one of the most talented actresses working in musical theatre today, and she's really good in this.
Yeah, she played the original Veronica off-Broadway, right?
Yeah, she did, in Heathers. And there's a scene in this where she has an argument with the main character, Katie, and she's so goddamn good. I think she really pops off. I was going to say, where do we want to put it? Do we have any?
I'm going to put it just below Come From Away.
I was going to say Perfection.
You're putting it above Heathers?
Yeah, I think so.
I was going to put it in good. Or no, I think I would have put it in the bottom of great, below Heathers.
So what does Heathers do that Mean Girls doesn't?
I think it does Mean Girl. I think it does Mean Girls as Mean Girl characters better than Mean Girls does with the Heathers.
No,
I think it's funnier and musically better.
Yeah.
I just think all the songs in Heathers are so good, and I think not every song in Mean Girls is that good. Some of them are a bit by the book and a bit boring to me. I love the show, but I just don't think it's on the same level.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough.
If you two are both saying below Come From Away and Perfection.
Yes, we'll put it in there.
Or do we want to put it in the top of great?
We'll put it in top of great. Pretty much
that's fine.
Side by side.
And our next musical is Cats.
Oh no.
And this is where I have to preface, when we talk about these musicals, we are mainly going to talk about the stage show, but if we have seen the film, we're going to take the film into account and balance out Cats as a property,
Okay. So
I think that's a fair way to do it.
I've not seen the movie, I've not seen the stage show, I've seen snippets of the movie because the one and only Taylor Swift is in the Cats movie. That's all I've got to say. I love her songs in the movie, but she's not in the musical, so I don't know what to say about the musical.
The musical for me, I used to not like it, but that was just from kind of going off of what people had said, but actually watching it isn't actually that bad. I think the dance in it is very, very talented, and anyone doing that show 8 times a week is incredible. The music in it as well, I've got to say, is kind of catchy, but the movie is just not for me.
I think the thing with Cats is, it's more of a dance show and a whole experience than it is a musical, because it's almost more like a dance concert kind of thing.
Yeah, I get what you
there's
mean.
no real plot and structure to it. It's like a talent show.
It is. It's just kind of cats running around.
And also, it is just one big show building up to Memory. The entire show is about waiting for Memory to be sang.
Yeah.
And Memory is one of the greatest musical theatre songs of all time. I don't think anyone's going to argue that. But the fact that the entire show is basically about getting to that song kind of diminishes it. And here's where the controversy goes in. The Cats film is shit. I feel like we know this. It's another one of the cases like Les Mis where it's recorded live, and so is really weird. Yeah, and then they did weird CGI fur in post, and it's just odd. But then the issue is Tyler, while you may love Taylor Swift, I don't think she should have been in that film, because they made up her character for her. I'm pretty sure her character isn't in the musical, Or if she is, she's in like a much smaller role.
That's the problem, right? Is you were on about kind of stunt casting and stuff, and I think that movie has done a lot of that. You've got James Corden, Taylor Swift. It's just to get the sales out there, and all praise to Andrew Lloyd Webber, because I don't know how a man can go from making like Phantom, which is like an opera style, to Cats, to Joseph. You know, it's incredible how he jumps from different genres.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'll talk about my thoughts on Andrew Lloyd Webber when we get to like rating some of his other shows that I'm more familiar with him from. Like, if we talk about like Bad Cinderella at some point, I'm gonna have a lot of thoughts.
Yeah.
So,
I'm gonna put it in. I'm not sure really.
I'm gonna go good. No, mid. There we go.
I'm gonna say not great.
I'm gonna put not great. Yeah.
All right. Should we put it? We say at the top, not great for now.
Yeah, for right now. We can always adjust, right?
Yeah.
Moving on to our next segment is the theatre superstitions. So this week's is all about kind of ghost lights. And
what's that?
And I'm about to explain. So the ghost light is a light put in the centre of the stage, usually, when all other lights have been turned off and the theatre has gone what is called dark. And the kind of history behind it is either to warn off spirits from the stage and kind of keep the show in good spirits, or a more light-hearted one is they keep a light on the stage for ghosts to perform in, and that's kind of why people haunt the theatres.
Ooh.
Didn't know that. There's two sides of it.
Interesting. Yeah.
What do you lot think of ghost lights? Do we believe in that or not?
I mean, absolutely not. Like, let's just be honest, ghosts aren't real, but
Really?
I think
If they didn't have a light, they couldn't see, so...
I do think it's cool, but I'm pretty sure it probably dates back to like Victorian times, like Shakespearean kind of era.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Yeah. So most theatres now won't put a ghost light in the centre of the stage, but I know I believe it's the other Palace, I think.
Yeah.
They've got
That's
a ghost
the
light.
Eversphere. So.
Yeah, they've got a ghost light in one of the dressing rooms, which is cool, and it's kind of like it's a nice throwback, really. We've grown away from all of these superstitions. I'm still, like I say, superstitious about kind of things in theatre, like saying the Scottish play and stuff, but that will be for another episode.
Yeah. So that's a good question. Do you guys believe in like ghosts or like the supernatural, like spirits and stuff?
I do, to an extent. Like I believe there is something, but I think it's more kind of doing, like I say, the superstitions around theatre more than anything. Like outside of theatre, I'm not really superstitious and don't believe in it at all.
Because I like absolutely don't believe in like ghosts and spirits and stuff like that. I think it's all just kind of made to like scare people. Probably linking back to like religion and stuff, but I'm not going to get into that now. But
let's not get into that.
I just think it's interesting. Like, I just think it's interesting to hear like people who really strongly believe in ghosts and like think they've seen ghosts. Like, I think it's really interesting to hear their stories. So, do you think you've ever seen a ghost, Lewis? Or
I don't think I have. No, there's no like memory that I'm like, oh my god, there's like a ghost or a spirit in front of me, you know.
Okay.
How about you, Tyler?
I don't know, really, to be honest. Nah. If something falls at me, then I think someone's trying to attack me.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of that, yesterday I was walking home and a tree branch fell on my head just randomly. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, But that's like...
Did it knock some sense into you?
No. Thank you. No, I just got really scared. I was like,
I'm pretty sure there was like a wind warning yesterday.
Oh really? That's probably why.
I think there's like a church near me, and I think a tree got like blown out of the churchyard.
Oh gosh.
God.
And like was on like one of the streets around here.
Lord.
Yeah. It wasn't. Yeah, it was like, I think it was like an actual storm. Like it might have had a name.
Yikes.
I don't know what it was called.
They did name a storm, but I don't even know what it was called. Storm Dangerous Bitch.
Today we're going to be talking about our creative process and how we actually made our Fringe show. So For those of you who don't know, we performed our first Fringe show as a company at the Barnstable Fringe this year, and today we're going to be talking about what it's like to make a Fringe show, how that happened, what we did, how we made it. So yeah, so I think we're going to start off. I'm going to ask these two some questions as performers. So firstly, what I want to ask is, how did you first get involved? How did you first join the show?
I will begin with this. Ben came to me like a couple of months before we were going to start rehearsal and went, look, I've signed up for the show, and I've like got this character. Are you interested in playing? And I was like, send me over the character. I was already sort of on board as soon as he came to me with it, but kind of reading the character description, I was like, yes, this sounds like me, and like a character I could play. So that's kind of how I got into it, and we started rehearsals.
Yeah, and you, Tyler? What do you think? How did you get involved?
Well, obviously, I wasn't came to first. I was a last thought. No, anyway. So Ben asked me. He was like, "There's this show. Lewis is in it. I need another character. Would you like to join?" So I didn't know anything, to be honest. I just said yes because why not? And originally there was 3 characters. So my character was going to be different. Last minute, we changed characters. So for the rehearsal...
Yeah, we had a dropout.
Yeah, so we changed and I changed characters. But I think I better suited the character I played than who I was going to play.
Yeah, I agree. I think there was I think the third character would have been good, but I think I never really had someone who fit it. And I don't think Tyler fit it, and then I cast him as that character kind of because I didn't know anyone else who I thought could do it, and I knew Tyler was a really good actor, and so I knew he could play it, but I didn't think he was like the perfect fit. But then when the role of Phoenix opened up, and Tyler spoke to me about possibly switching, I kind of knew he was gonna be really good in that role, and he really made it his own.
Yeah, I think both characters were perfect for both of us, and I feel like we kind of adapted into them.
Yeah. So after I got you two involved and I first told you about it, what did you first think of the show idea? And how did that kind of change as we developed it and throughout the process of rehearsing?
So from what I remember, it was we had like one scene in the script, right? From the first rehearsal?
Yeah. It was like we had, I think, 4 scenes written.
Oh, right, okay.
And there was at the end like a total of like 12.
So we got into the rehearsal room and Ben was like, okay, this is the script, we can read through it, and I was like, okay, perfect. And I think we read through, and Ben had like said before we even started reading, like, I'm not good at writing dialogue, so please forgive that. And like we touched on in the first episode, we read through the script, and I sort of changed the text a little bit to fit more what I felt the character was. And yeah, so I was always on board from the first read through, because it's such an important story to tell.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm pretty good at writing monologues, and I feel like that's where my strength is. It's because I enjoy creative writing. I can write big blocks of more like artistic text storytelling, but I struggle with like dialogue. And so I basically said, change whatever you want, do whatever you want with it. This script isn't gospel, like, make it natural, make it you, fit it around your characters. And I think that was more important. So Tyler, how about you? What did you initially think of it?
Definitely, yeah, thought we need to tell the story because it is a good story. Definitely beneficial. And thought, obviously, how we're going to do it was, like, because obviously what we had didn't feel like, not enough, but it felt like too big of a story to tell in too few words, if you get what I mean. So, like, going obviously through it, looking at our characters ourselves and like how we can develop this more, definitely help tell the story.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler basically like talked me into adding 4 extra scenes to what I was originally going to do. Like, the entire second set of monologues and the dialogue scene surrounding that was not originally in my plans. It was going to go from what I originally had written, those first 4 scenes, straight to what I think was scene 9 or something at the end.
I definitely think those couple of scenes though added a lot to the story, like beneficial wise.
Yeah, I definitely think they did, and they really kind of exposed your characters more. I think we really got into like a surface level in those first scenes. We started to kind of see cracks, but we really only learned about like their story, their external problems, not really their
Yeah.
internal issues, if that makes sense.
Because I remember I took the script with me, and I got a piece of paper and I started writing down questions. Ask, like, if I saw this part in the script about, I don't know, my character's favourite colour's blue. Not a question, but, and why, what this relates to it. Obviously, it wasn't that question, something so simple, but, like, why is he doing this for this? Like, some of them questions, I think that really helped build on the character and the story.
I guess that kind of leads us on to like, how did you create your characters and build upon what I'd written and given you in the script and really make them your own?
I'd say, like I said, sorry, I'm gonna repeat myself, but like obviously asking myself questions and then thinking, reading the description and thinking, how can I bring myself into this, as well as keeping it to the story. Like definitely finding areas of where I related to the character. That really helped develop the character more, because then I could feel connected to the character more, and like bringing some levels of like the personal like issues definitely helps to bring a story like this more obviously natural and more to life.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think like a big part of me writing this is when I'm writing, I kind of tend to start with characters. Before I come, like, I'll have like an idea of what I want the story to be and be about and the main kind of themes and ideas. But the very first thing I'll do is I'll write out character profiles. And that's the very first thing I did with this show, was I wrote out and I described the characters, I described them physically and also emotionally, where they are at the start of the piece and where they are at the end, and kind of the journey they take. And I think it's a really good place to start when writing. And then I let you guys build upon that. I let you add your own quirks to the characters in terms of speech. And I tried to give you as much information I could as possible. Like, I made this big like spreadsheet where I basically answered as many questions they had about the characters as possible, even like simple ones like their favourite colour or their dream job, their favourite songs, stuff like that. And I really just tried to create as much detail and make these characters as real and human as I could. How did you build your character and how did you kind of make them your own?
So like Ben said just then, the character descriptions he gives are so detailed, kind of down to, I think you wrote about like the fingernails for my character.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did.
Yeah, which was lovely, because it really gave me, like you said, just the base to build upon. And I think the chemistry that me and Tyler had during the rehearsal and on stage, kind of building that friendship with the two characters really helped kind of discover things that weren't written in the script or weren't written in the character descriptions. Like on stage, I would shake my knee and stuff like that, so it was really good to have the research done as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think research is a really important part of talking about such a heavy topic. I think if you're not going to research and really learn about what your character's going through and have an understanding of that, you're never going to be able to like portray it faithfully.
Yeah, and I think we had people come to us, just to link back to kind of the Barnstable showing and the taster session, we had people come to us and say like, look, thank you so much, this is a really personal story and you've portrayed it like well, which gave me especially a boost up in Barnstable to develop it more, even when we had started doing the shows.
So in terms of your like performances, what do you think was good about your performances and what would you do better and what do you want to kind of change and develop in the future? Not just about your performances but about like the show as a whole. What went well? What would you do better?
These are always hard questions. Simplest questions are always the hardest. Let me think on that one.
Okay, I can start with saying what I think went well and what I think you two could do better. If you want to do notes right now. Lewis, you need to really, really play more into how insecure your character is. I think you're a little too confident, and also you need to swear more. that would be like the note, but what I think you did really well was portraying their journey and their dedication. Like, you really, really showed me this is someone who has a very clear goal, really wants that goal, and is aiming for it and works incredibly hard, and you really, really sold that incredibly well. And so it made it, when you did that scene where you break and you crack and you just are like screaming and shouting and crying, it made your performance there all the more beautiful, all the groundwork you laid for it.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing about being in a play more than anything, is the journey that the character goes on. You mentioned about playing, and that was my note for myself as well, is to lean more into the cockiness of the character, I guess. Because we were given backstories, and kind of there were loads of different interpretations, which I loved about the show, especially the ending. Hopefully people get to see that soon.
I think one thing I said to you pretty early on about your character is they don't think they're better than other people, they know they are.
Mm-hmm.
They know they're the smartest person in the room, and that's something they genuinely believe. And there's this sort of almost like natural condescendingness to them, like this natural, like they genuinely don't intend to try to act smarter than people, but they just do it. And it kind of comes across as rude, but they never really notice that.
They never intend for it to happen.
And then I think Tyler I'll start with the positives on Tyler. I think he was really good at kind of portraying Phoenix's nature in a way. They're like how kind of closed off and reserved they can be, and contrasting that with their true nature of their like how like caring they are and how much they want to be kind of loved, really, and how much that forces them to push themselves away from people. And I think that was a really big part of their character, and I think he really captured that well. And also his like the way he performed, like the idea of them wanting to run away, their desire for escape, and the way he really balanced the guilt around that decision with excitement played really well, I think. If I was to give Tyler a note, I think he could lean more into like abrasiveness with Phoenix's character. I think they can get a bit more pissed off with the machine, a bit more angry with Atlas when he's being annoying. I think like Phoenix can be a bit stubborn, and I think that's something you could play with more.
Yeah, definitely. I think that as well. Like, there was times that like I could have done more to like show like, yeah, I'm getting pissed off, love, like by the human and by the bloody robot. I get what you mean there.
So there's no notes for you, Ben, really.
Thank you.
No,
not even for Cameron.
No, so I think we all know Cameron. It was the technical side mainly when we got up there.
Yeah.
But there's nothing we could control there.
I think in future I definitely want to re-record the lines and do it like properly in like an actual studio.
Yeah, there's definitely ways around it.
As opposed to sat in my room.
Especially with the voice. I feel like it can be more robotic, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And be really sort of like artificial. For those that don't know, Cameron is a completely automated or auto-generated voice character. Like, there's no person on stage.
It's literally, I recorded myself 3 or 4 weeks before the actual show. I think I recorded it first before the ending, and then I added in the ending lines.
Oh, fair enough.
That's how close to a show the ending was done.
It was done effectively, though, we must say. What was the original question? We kind of went off.
Oh, it was... So what was good about your performances in the show, and how would you improve it?
How would I improve? Just more research, I think. And like I said, leaning in. I think research is important for everything.
I'd say how my character confronts, I'd say. Because he is closed off, but there are some parts that he is confronting things. So like, how he does that, I could have built more upon.
Yeah, I think that's good. So... And finally, for you guys, what did you learn about making a show from doing this?
I think the big one that sticks out for all of us is it's a team effort, and none of this...
It's a team effort, like, yeah, not one person.
Tyler, we're going to re-record because my nan's shouting.
Okay.
Sorry, my nan's just come around. I think the big thing about the the show is it's a team effort, and an understanding that none of this could have been done without all of us pulling the weight, if that makes sense. And I feel like that's what we've done extremely well. It's not just kind of Ben doing kind of all of the directing, all of the writing, all of the stuff. We as a team have come up with different ideas and kind of adapted the show.
Yeah, I mean 100%. That's something I learned, because I mean I tried to do it all alone. I basically did all of the organising until about a couple months before. I did basically all of the organising, all of the applying, all of the writing, all of the direction. Everything fell on me. And then when I got these two really involved and we started rehearsals, it was so much easier and so much nicer because I had people to work with and people to share my ideas with and to grow the show with and to help do stuff. Like, I had no idea how to make a poster, but luckily Tyler does, and so he was able to do that. And we didn't end up with the shitty poster I threw together in 10 minutes. Like, it really involves teamwork. And the other thing I learned about making a show is it's complicated and difficult, and you have to think about a lot more stuff than just writing it. Like, I could have just focused and written a script and done that and then directed it, but there's so much more I have to think about. You have to think about set and sound and insurance and money and posters, and there are just so many levels and so much stuff that I think people don't realise goes on behind the scenes of this when you're just sat in the audience. And I mean, I'd never realised it before, but luckily I had people at the Fringe telling me what to do and like support on how to do this.
I guess that's the like amazing thing that we've done as well, and all theatre companies attempt to do, is make it seem seamless and make it seem kind of effortless. But there's so much that goes on behind that hopefully we'll dive into within this episode, that it's difficult to explain, but you have to have a team behind you. It's hard to do it by yourself.
I was gonna say, not even we did a lot, but like not even like, say with the poster, I had the ideas, but I didn't know how to like draw it or come up with it. So I did like ask my friend Sally, like, can you draw this? Like, I used her design and digitalized it and then made what I wanted. But like, even like asking people, like, we couldn't do the photography ourselves. We knew how to take photos, but like, obviously we were in the photos, so there were some things, and so a lot of the things we did need to call on like one or two people, including like our drama teacher, who gave us the time to actually rehearse, who gave us the space.
And that's the good thing about theatre as well, is you've always got people behind you to give support. Like, I don't think I've met someone in this industry that hasn't wanted to support us or has told us like no for a bad reason, if that makes sense.
Like, while us three kind of weren't the ones taking the lead and making the show and like doing it all, there are so many people who have helped us with stuff like behind the scenes and made this happen. And like, it just would not have been possible if it's like so many incredible people hadn't been kind enough to like give my idea the time of day, basically. So do you want to move on and switch who's in the questioning seat?
Yes, Ben.
And
we'll
you
put
guys
you
can
in the hot
quiz
seat.
me about my side of the process.
Okay, Ben, so the first question is, what inspired you to make the show initially?
So the original idea about writing a show about mental health in young people had kind of always been there for a long time. I wanted to write my story, and it originally came from the idea of writing a short story about Phoenix's character, about this young person who wanted to run away from home because they were so dissatisfied. And it kind of took some of my personal experiences and like extrapolated those out. And as I thought more and more about it, I realised this is going to work as a play. And then I thought, what if I combined that with CAMS? Because I've attended CAMS. I have anxiety and depression. That's something I'm open about. And so I took kind of the inspiration of my own mental health struggles and CAMS, its institution, and the influence of like politics, which is something that's very important to me, and like our government's failings, and I kind of combined them into this idea. And I wrote 3 characters where like each of the 3 original characters had a bit of me, and both of the characters in the show are in many ways like a part of me inspired them. And inspired what I went through, especially at that time I was attending CAMS, like... And then I just kind of created this idea of CAMS being this robot and being, like, replaced with something that is just failing young people. And I wanted to look at what would happen if, when I attended CAMS, it wasn't what it was, and if it was not there to help me.
So without giving
that's really where the initial idea came from.
Without giving too much away, what made you kind of set it in the time period you did?
Well, it's set, I always said, a year from today. A year from whenever it's performed. Because I think it shows how easily the world can change, and how easily kind of, in our current political climate where everything is so messy and so tense, and the economy is in such a weak state, how easily it could just change that it's like this, and modern young people, current real people, have to deal with this.
I was actually going to ask one for all of us as well. But Ben, obviously first, I'm going to ask. Obviously, it's been our first show. How have you taken on board like writing and like the process? How could you take that for your next show? And like, would you do it differently? Would you stay the same? Like, what aspects would you take from this experience, say, writing a second show?
Not leave the ending for 2 weeks before the show?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. What I would say is, firstly, I'm gonna take my time to write it before I put it out there. Because I applied to Barnstable with an idea, with no script, no plan, no actors, nothing. I applied with this concept of 3 young people attend CAMS. That was pretty much it. And I ran with it, and I got in somehow, because they draw it from a hat, actually, at Barnstable. And so I was basically picked randomly, and got incredibly lucky that I got in. And so what I would do is, A, finish a script and make sure I'm happy with it before I start working on it. And also include more people in the process of writing than putting it all on myself. Because especially with Deep Breaths, when it's a really emotional show and a really personal show, it can be really difficult to write, and it really weighs on your mental health when you're really pouring yourself out. Like, there's this moment in the process of writing this show where I'm writing, like, about a character having a panic attack. And I'm sat here in my room and I'm describing the feeling of a panic attack in a character. And that's something really difficult and really personal and really emotional. And I think if I had more support and was more open on my writing process, I may never have gotten to the place where I struggled so much to finish it and to get across the character's emotions, because it just weighed on me a lot. It's really tough to put yourself into work like this. And I also think it kind of limits it. And so what I want to do is take on more of kind of Tyler and Lewis's views, more of other people's views, to make my script more well-rounded and just better, generally.
You mentioned kind of finishing a script before you kind of put it out there. Are you still wanting to do kind of workshops and stuff to make sure the script is read properly and comes across in the right way? Because sometimes when you write something, it's not always performed in the right way, or it doesn't come across the right way.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the benefit of having a theatre company now. It's not just me doing this alone. I have you two, and I know I can come to you two at any point with a scene or a draft or an idea and go over it and talk about it without it having to be like there's any pressure on me to have it ready, because I trust that you two know that when I finish this script, I will have it ready for you and I can give it to you and we can start working on it. But I also feel like I have you two to give me ideas and to support me in it now. I guess that kind of links into a part of the process which really helped me. As I kind of mentioned a bit earlier, I struggle with dialogue a lot. I think it's my weakest aspect of my writing. And so one thing I did is, this is something me and Tyler did, and Lewis did a bit, is we would come up with ideas for scenes or like and stuff, and we would write, and we would each take a piece of paper and write out a scene with our characters based on that idea, and it really helped me come up with new ideas for dialogue and how to write it.
Yeah, I'd also say that links into like how we did that improv session where we had the set and we just sat down as our characters and just whatever came to mind we just act out, even if it was rubbish.
Yes, that's how we came up with the first blocking scene, right? So our first scene was, blocking wise, was completely improv'd on the first sort of read through. So what we did, like Tyler mentioned, is going as our characters into this into the set and just interacting how we would. And I feel like that, number one, helped us as actors connect to our characters a bit more and understand the relationship between the two, but also help Ben to sort of understand where, like, our point of view and where we want our characters to go from.
Because I remember reading when Ben had the complete like script, like everything, like some of the ending was changed, like everything. I remember reading a part and I just remember laughing because I remember something that we all laughed about when I did my improv as my character and we all took the piss out of actually ended up in the final bit. Not like completely.
Wait, which part was that?
It was, do you know when, it wasn't at the start, it was like in the middle to the end where we're talking about going on the walk. And I remember in the improv I was like, do you want me to take you there? And then it turned out we were all taking a piss out of it, being like, what, are you going on a date or something? And then I remember at the end I was reading it and it was like, Phoenix was saying to Atlas, would you like me to take you there? It was just seeing like how even the smallest, like the funny bits that you don't think are actually important or can actually impact it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think that's something you kind of came up with in improv that's very Tyler, but when applied to the script in a different context, it can be a way of kind of highlighting Phoenix's really caring nature, but also like their awkwardness, I think, in a really nice way. And I ended up like, the more and more I thought about that when writing it, I really liked that line, and so I felt like I had to keep it in.
It also shows and builds on how the characters' connection, like, oh, I can take, because they're in this like AI place, and it's like the only thing that they get out of it is the connection with each other. So even like them small parts.
Do you guys want to ask me another question?
Do you have anything to add, Lewis?
So what have you learned? Sorry. So what have you? Why this show, and why now? I know we've touched upon kind of the mental health side of things, but why this show? Why not kind of a one-man show or like a bigger piece, if that makes sense?
I think this show is important because it's very real and very raw and honest. Like, the characters are very human, they're very real. It's not... And also, I didn't want to be cynical. I wanted to come across as kind of hopeful about society, and that was really important to me. Like, I think there is so much in the current climate that is so cynical and upset with the state of the world and angry at the government, and I think that's completely rightfully. But I think it's really important to take a step back and think about the fact that young people are one day going to be in the government, and that day is sooner than we think. And so I think that we need to take a positive outlook on it and look at the issues honestly and like from our perspective. And that's why I think this show is really important, because it looks at the issue of mental health from young people's perspectives and how it's treated from our perspectives.
And that's something we want to kind of continue throughout the rest of the shows we make and anything we do. The whole motto is young people's stories from young people's perspectives. And as we sort of grow older, we are still treated as young people in today's world.
Yeah. Can I just say, to the other part of that question, why now? Another big part of the show is AI and the fear of AI. And I think what sums it up perfectly is like halfway through writing this show, ChatGPT got released, which is like terrifying, and people use it to fake uni essays and like everything, and it's this incredibly intelligent AI. And it just proved to me that the fear of AI is such a modern issue and so polarizing now, but I think looking at how it applies to something as personal as mental health is really important to talk about.
Yeah, there's another thing that I know is going around the media right now, which is kind of AI in theatre and acting. So I don't know whether you thought of kind of doing that as well, or whether that is just like an added thing that's happened.
No, I mean, are you referring to like the acting strikes at the moment about like writers being replaced by AI and stuff?
I mean, not really. So that's an aspect, but then there's also kind of people saying that actors are just going to be straight up replaced with sort of AI, and how people can mold faces, and actors will be out of a job if this continues.
I don't think that's ever going to happen. I think as good as AI gets, it will never be able to be human. And I think at the end of the day, acting is kind of the art of being human and showing humanity. Like, I think that's such an important aspect of acting in the modern day, and that's why people love going to the theatre so much, is you're seeing real people tell these stories instead of reading a book or something. You're really seeing people, and it's live and it's there and you're so present. And so I really don't think AI could ever replace actors. And it wasn't something that I really thought about with this show, but I guess you definitely could see an aspect of it that comments on that. And
yeah, I mean, with this show especially, we've got the main points that we wanted to kind of cover, but then we've had people come to us and kind of mention things that we hadn't thought of within this show, and kind of their take on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like a really key metaphor to this show that's mentioned in the final scene, and it's a really important metaphor to me, is the idea of screaming into the void. The idea of we are just shouting and screaming and like expecting people to hear, but they don't. And it's just like we keep going, we keep saying, we're not silent. And I think the characters aren't that, and I think by making this show, we're not being silent, we're screaming, we're putting this out there and hoping someone hears. And I think that if people hear something different from what we wanted them to hear from this, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think people can have a different interpretation, can get a different message from what we are just putting out into the world.
Yeah, I think that comes especially from the ending. Again, we're not going to give anything away, but the ending has multiple interpretations that people have come to us with, and I believe we've always said as a company, like, we've never had a set understanding of what that ending is, and people can interpret as they please.
Like, I think every person I've spoken to about the ending has seen it in a slightly different way. Like, I have my thoughts, you two have your thoughts, and I think it's really important that, you know, it's kind of liminal, this ending. You know, we all look at it from a different perspective, it changes depending on what you think.
It's just like the world, to be honest. The world is ever changing and it's not this set place.
Yeah. I feel like if I was to, like, if I was to go back and look at the ending of this show in, say, maybe a couple of years from now, I would probably have a completely different perspective on it.
Do we want to dive into the more creative side of... I know we've touched on the writing and the performing, but we've mentioned kind of the set design and sound design and stuff like that. Do we want to dive into that a bit more?
Yeah, I'm happy to.
So with the set design, did you ever have sort of plans? I know we kind of decided it's a waiting room, that's that. But we've also played around with the ideas of different set designs as well.
Yeah. So it was always going to be a waiting room and the quote-unquote safe space for, like, the doctor's room, this weird black liminal space where they're interviewed. It was always going to be those two sets from pretty early on. But originally I was going to use a stage wall that we would rotate, and one side would have the smiley face on it, and the other side would have a backdrop for the waiting room. And I mean, I was pretty set on, like, the use of the chairs early on and stuff. Like, I wanted to create that clinical feel of the waiting room. But, like, there were lots of different stages and different ideas I had. I originally wanted to use, like, a big old CRT, like, wheel-in TV. Like, you hear people talk about, like, school in the 90s. Like, one of those. And that was going to have the face on it. But it's just... that's so hard to do technically. which is something I didn't realise. But, like, it's like, how do you get a face to show up on this TV? I don't know. It's really, like, difficult. And so I found projection was the easiest route and gave us the most freedom.
Yeah, I definitely think with this... Go on, Tyler.
I was gonna say, I'd say especially like with the space, because obviously there's a lot we can do, but like the space we're given, and so I'd say it's not like a downside, but there's always so much you can do, but the creativity never ends.
Yeah, I think adding on to that, this show is so adaptable. Like we said, we've always wanted the waiting room, we've always wanted the safe space, but with the set, we can always enhance it and make it more sort of futuristic or more, what's the word?
Stylized?
That's it. I know originally, for the eagle-eyed folk out there, the poster of Deep Breaths isn't the set we use for the show. But that's... Yeah, that was fun.
We did, like, steal those chairs for the poster, though.
To clarify, we didn't steal, we kind of borrowed them from the school. We didn't just go out and go, these chairs look nice.
We basically walked into the school's main reception, took the chairs, and then, like, walked out with them without really asking or explaining anything.
I feel like those were fun, though, to use.
Yeah, they were.
Just
I would
saying,
love
we were
to have
still
chairs
in
like
the
that
school.
to use. Yeah, no, we didn't, like, take them, sorry. We just
didn't
kind of
walk into reception and be like, come on, get the van round the back.
I was going to say, you're making us out like thieves, Ben.
No.
We took them into our
walked into
drama
reception, took them and walked off to a drama studio with them.
Which is right next to reception.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, I may have dramatized it a bit, but, you know.
yeah.
We're in theatre, what else was I gonna do? So, yeah. Yeah, so I think, like, the set changed a lot, and I'm not 100% happy with how it ended up with the use of projection, but I think it's good and that it works, and so I'm happy with it. And maybe if we were to do, like, an in-house run somewhere, where we were going to be in the same set for, like, multiple weeks, I might think of changing it to be something a bit more permanent and a bit more what I originally wanted, but...
And that's the thing, what advice would you give to, say, young people or any sort of theatre company wanting to produce a show? What advice would you give on the sort of set design aspect?
Just don't make it difficult for yourself. Like, I think that's a really important thing. Like, there's a lot you can do, there's a lot that it's possible to do, but you really have to, like, make that happen. Like, you really have to figure it out, find the best and the easiest ways to do stuff, look at what you have available to you, because if you try to really overcomplicate it, it is going to be expensive and difficult and things go wrong. Like, we really cut down and simplified our set, and it made our entire process that much easier.
I was going to say, especially with, like, don't overcomplicate it, like, with technology. Yeah, I'm just going to put it out there, Ben, I'm sorry, but technology, like, obviously our show is very technical based with AI, but, like, the making of it and how using a third character with AI, that was time.
It goes along the aspects of, like, less is more, right?
Yeah. I mean, while our set design we cut down and simplified, our sound design was really, really complex. And we also used projection with, like, a presentation, so that was also a bit difficult. So I ended up running that myself. While these two were performing, I was sat with the tech guy running the sound and presentation, just because I knew it like the back of my hand from rehearsals.
But even before we got into basketball, I remember just sitting at a desk whilst my drama teacher's teaching a lesson. I've got nothing to do, so I'm sat in his room with my computer, like, figuring out, organising the tech, the sound. What a day that was.
A bit of advice if you're doing sound design, label your files properly.
Yeah, not like, what was a line? I could say a line or a monologue, and the line would be something that says in the middle of it. And I'm like, what? So I have to listen to them and be like, wait, that's that, move that there.
I think, like, there's a line that was like, please refrain from swearing, and I just titled it, like, Swear 1 or something.
Yeah, and I was like, there's many swears, like, where's this go?
So that's a bit of advice. Like, make it easy for yourself. Don't, make it more difficult than it has to be, because it will be difficult, and it will lead to you messing stuff up in the future. So
also consider the kind of the style you're wanting to go for. Like, the piece of theatre we went for was very realistic from my standpoint, and I think the set that
it was almost. Yeah. No, you finish what you're saying.
I think the set that we used really. You want the set to aid your performance, not to kind of give the performance itself, if that makes sense.
I kind of wanted this, like, realism mixed with this almost sense of, like, the unnatural. It was meant to almost feel a bit odd, in a way. Like, it's like they're just in this waiting room set, but there's nothing there except chairs. And then they go in to see a doctor, and they're just in this black void with a weird face presented behind them. It's meant to be a bit strange and unnatural, but, like, believably realistic.
It allows the audience to kind of imagine and fill in the blanks, if that makes sense, and kind of create their own story through us.
Yeah. As a wise man, an incredibly wise, intelligent, smart man once said, a minimalistic set can be used to allow a character-based performance to focus on its performers.
Yes.
You said that.
Someone incredibly intelligent. Some may call him a prophet once said that, so...
I'm so confused. I'm trying to think.
It's me.
Now.
Oh.
I said that.
I thought it was like... Sorry,
I was, like, quoting, like, Jesus or something. Like...
No, I thought you were going off, like, a practitioner, like Brecht or someone. I was like, oh, okay.
No, that was me writing about DNA in our GCSE drama exam.
Oh, fun.
And our drama teacher still teaches that phrase to his year 10s today, that a minimalistic set can be used to allow performers to shine in a character-based piece. That's my contribution to the drama world.
A Jesus of Additive Theatre, everyone. Bennett.
I am. Lewis, so what did you think of the, like, set design? When you first kind of saw it, what was your, like, initial thought? Because it was really simple. And I wanted to know if you what you thought of it.
Well, if we're going back to, like, the first rehearsal, I remember we read the script and it was a waiting room. And I think we had like 4 different chairs lined up. And then we had a little table, an exam table, with like tissues and pens and stuff. And I was like, okay, right. And I was trying to imagine kind of where we were, if that makes sense. And I think the chairs allowed us, the way it was set up, allowed for direct eye contact between actors, which really helped, like I said, portray the story a lot more. And obviously with the space we were given and the performance space, it was a little bit different. But overall, I thought the set portrayed the meaning well.
It's fine. I mean, we ended up scrapping the table, even. Mm-hmm. Just to really, like, minimalize it and kind of create the space with as little as possible. And I think projection really helped with that.
Yeah, filling, like I said, the blanks in.
I'm just gonna say, without the set, I wouldn't have made the poster what it is, because I think definitely that helped.
I mean, I definitely think, when I think about the next show, I am thinking more complex on the set front, but, like, not really much more. It just is going to involve different stuff and using things in different ways to tell the story.
Yeah.
Because without giving anything away, you two know the idea for the next show. It's going to require a bit of a more naturalistic set, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that's the benefit of doing these shows in different styles, is you allow yourself to expand your knowledge on the set and kind of understand what you can and can't use, or what you feel would be more effective.
So
that's the thing is...
Oh, you go, Tyler.
I was just going to say, without obviously giving anything away, but as we think, I'm always coming up with different ideas of how I can, I don't know, make a poster, how can I make a set, the font, the title's going to be, just something random. I'm always thinking, like, digital side. You know what way?
And that's the thing, is you, as a theatre company, you always want to be one step ahead. You always want to be thinking of what can we do better, what can we do more of. how can we expand?
Yeah,
Yeah,
always
definitely.
one step. Oh, like someone wise once said, one step forward, and three whilst the audience are 3 steps back.
Like, I just think we always are trying to advance what we're doing and come up with new ideas. Like this podcast.
Yeah.
It was something new and exciting where we could take our creativity and put it in a different direction, which I think is really fun. So now, moving on, I'm just going to say, how's your guys' week been? You've been having a
alright.
good summer? Like,
Yeah, I've been working mostly, so I've done bits and bobs, but yeah.
It's yeah, my summer's been really good. I've started to focus more on progressing in skills and stuff and picking up new hobbies. So I found a podcast that discusses kind of how to act more realistic, how to act in certain styles, which I've really enjoyed, and I've started taking some kind of classes in dance as well, which is always fun, trying to expand my dance knowledge.
I like...
What about you, Ben?
Honestly, I haven't done a lot. I was like so busy the end of last year. I think I just needed like 2 weeks to just like cleanse and just like sleep pretty much. Like I basically mostly what I've done is been like working with you guys on the stuff and like the podcast bits. And then like I've like been out with my dogs and played video games, and like I went to a board game cafe, which was fun. That was pretty cool.
Oh, I've been to one of them like a couple of years ago.
It was like pretty good. We ended up just like completely like ruining the games and like making up different rules and just like pissing ourselves laughing the whole time. But it was great fun.
I was gonna literally say something.
I'm just gonna give a shout out to Susan Vasnach-Wojcicki. If anyone listening knows her, you know me.
I've never heard.
We'll leave that in. Someone will get that reference.
Okay, I was gonna say, I want to start reading again, because at the start of the year, I started reading, and then it got like, let's say 20 days into the year, and I just stopped for some reason. And I want to start again, but now there's so much I've got to do, I don't think I can restart, you know?
Yeah, I get that. My problem is like,
one thing.
So I do English, and I feel like I should read more, but like, I never enjoy reading until I'm like invested in a book. And so like, and I never get invested in a book until I'm like 10 chapters in. And so I have to like really motivate myself to read until I get to the point where I'm like hooked, and then I can't put it down. And so I just never read, because I drop a book after like 3 chapters because I get bored.
I was going to think of a really stupid joke then. You said you can't put a book down, and I was going to be like, are you reading an anti-gravity book? But never mind.
That was shocking.
Shit. Oh my lord.
Right, this is my my little secret, is I don't read many books, but I'm like such a comic nerd. Like, I love reading like comics so much, and that's where like most of my reading is now.
I was just gonna say, I've not read one in years. I've got like a stack of them somewhere. I've not opened them for ages. Yeah.
I just like...
Oh my god.
It's literally like adult picture books. It's great. It keeps my brain nice and like stimulated instead of just words.
I was going to say, because I think it was last year or something, obviously, with the new... Do you know the new season of Heartstopper? Anyway.
Yes.
Obviously, last year, when the first season... I have as well, love it. Last year, when the first season came out, I'd never heard of Heartstopper. I was like, what the hell is it? Never heard of it. I remember when the first season came out, I was in bed, it was like 11 o'clock, and I just started binging the whole season until like 1 a.m. or whenever I finished it. And then I remember I went out and I actually bought the graphic novels, because they were originally graphic novels. And I'd never read a graphic novel. I was like, but then I got really into it. So then I started buying Alice Oseman's standalone novels. And they obviously weren't pictures. Like, then I started like really enjoying them. But then I think she got me more into reading, like, because, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
say that.
For me, I like binged Heartstopper in like a day as well. And then I was gonna get the graphic novels, but I did not have the money for that. And so instead, I read what it was before there was graphic novels, which was the original webcomic.
Oh, yeah.
Which is like, it's like kind of like a bit off from the actual story, but it's good. And I'm up to date on that, because I was like addicted to that series when I first watched it.
That's the thing as well, like, if you know me, you know I've got a shopping addiction, and
You do a bit.
and like, I do. And like I bought the first Heartstopper one, and then the first like volume of and then she released another one, but this one's a Netflix edition, so it's got Joe Locke and Kit Connor like as the characters on the front of the novel. So I bought that, and because it's got like TV script extracts, and then HMV, not HMV, that's for music. See, I'm going off on one. Waterstones released a Waterstones exclusive. The cover was shiny, and if you know me, if something is different but the same, I will still buy it.
You're like a magpie. You were just attracted to the shiny things.
I know. Like with Taylor Swift's albums, she's released like 5 of her Midnight's albums. I've got every single one. Plus, I've made my own. So I'm just this spender, and like, so I've got like 3 Heartstopper volumes of the same one. But the thing is, Alice Oseman does this. She puts little different extracts in the back of each one of the characters. I think that as well tells me I need to buy it because it's different. Yeah, I just thought I'd go on a tangent about spending.
So what? Have we all seen the new season of Heartstopper then?
I have, definitely. I watched it in a day before you guys came round.
Not just before we came round, it was while we were there.
Yeah, we were. So for those, give it a context. We were going to try and record this podcast in person, but kind of due to technical difficulties and stuff, we didn't. And as I was trying to figure out how to set things up, I hear Heartstopper in the background, and I'm like, "Hello, what's happening here?" And to answer your question, Ben, I've not seen all of it. I think I've seen the 3 episodes of the new season.
Okay, well, I'll just not to spoil it. I'll just say it's really good. I think Lewis needs to go and watch that like when we finish recording today.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's really good. Isaac had me in my feels. It was great.
Oh my god, yeah, I love Isaac because I loved how they focused more on like, because obviously they introduced 3 new characters. They introduced new characters anyway, but as well as like building on the new characters, they still built stronger like connections with obviously the old characters and brought more of the characters who didn't have much of a story last season or weren't seen as much.
Yeah,
it brought their stories more forward. Like,
yeah, it kind of felt like Nick and Charlie had just as much focus as like all of the side characters did and stuff. Like, yeah, it was really nice and balanced. It was really good.
See, we don't spoil things on this podcast.
Yeah, we're good like that. That's why you should listen, and you should follow us on YouTube and subscribe and follow our Spotify. Please and thank you.
Oh my god, this is totally, you might cut this in the end. You probably will. But I've tried the new teriyaki burger from KFC. Do you know GK Barry?
We're not cutting this. I'm excited.
Yeah, we're not.
No, do you know GK Barry? Love her truly. What an icon she is. So obviously she did the advert for the new KFC teriyaki burger, and she called it the Barryaki burger. So I was like, my parents and my brother, we went to get the McDonald's, and obviously the McDonald's drive-through is near KFC. So we come back, we went to KFC, and then I was like, oh, I'm going to get the new teriyaki burger. When my dad started ordering, I was like, can I have the Barryaki burger? So he was like, can I get a Barryaki burger? I was like, no, wait, that's GK Barry's version. So it's the same, but she changed the name. So I was like, it's a teriyaki burger. But yeah, I loved it. It was gorgeous. Best thing I've had from KFC. Yeah.
I actually love KFC. That's an episode idea. We should do like a favourite fast food.
New tier list idea?
We should do a tier list on fast food.
Do you want to just rip it off now? Like, what are your guys' like favourite fast food places?
Oh.
I'm just gonna say I've not had McDonald's for nearly 2 years. It's 2021. I have not had McDonald's. So I'm gonna put McDonald's low. I'm gonna put KFC quite high. I tried the new Popeyes. That was alright.
Oh, it's just like KFC but worse, I feel.
I thought the hot wings were like slightly better. I just had a hot wing because I didn't actually go. I went with friends and they had a hot wing left over, so I was like, I'm gonna munch on that, and it was alright. I'd say obviously KFC's a top one for me. I like a good Taco Bell. I had that in a while. I think I had that a couple months ago. But yeah, say I'm just gonna stop talking now because I'm just gonna go off on one.
Alright,
I'd say KFC's top.
Okay, good. I gotta say, like, the number one is like always been Pizza Hut for me. That's like my day one, my favorite. Like if I just like really fancy something, I'm like, I'll get a pizza. I'll get Pizza Hut.
See, I'm different.
I'm not too fond of pizza.
No, neither. I'm not a big fan of pizza. But I'm really different. So I think my top would be McDonald's. My second would be KFC. My third, are we counting Nando's as a fast food?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, right. That would be my third one then. Is Nando's.
Right. Okay. If I'm gonna do a top three, I'll put Pizza Hut number one, then KFC, then I'm gonna go a bit out of left field, and I'm gonna say Subway.
Oh,
I love to just like grab a Subway if I'm like out and about. It feels like nice and like light, and I can like convince myself it's healthy, even though it definitely isn't. And it's good.
Are we counting Greg's as fast food? I know it's not fast food, it's
Yes.
more like a cafe bakery. But Greg's, everyone
I would.
knows.
I think if you consider Subway, you have to consider Greg's.
Yeah. Like, you both know, Greg's is my life. Like, I've got the t-shirt, I've got the shorts, I've got the hat, I've got the bag, I've got the jumper. I've got everything Greg's, so that's got to be top. And then I'd say KFC and then maybe Taco Bell. That's my top three, I'd say.
This is the real big question when it comes to fast food. Is what's your Mackey's order?
Thank God you didn't ask my Nando's order. My McDonald's order. That's tough. I'd go for a triple bacon. So you got triple like cheeseburger, right? I don't eat cheese that often, so I'm gonna go with the triple bacon burger, plain. I've got nothing on it. Large fries and a large Diet Coke. And if I'm feeling a bit peckish, I'll get 6 nuggets.
Okay, right.
I love
I'm
the
gonna
way
say
you asked
my order.
this.
What, you love the way I asked it?
Yeah, because literally not even a couple minutes ago, I said I've not eaten McDonald's for 2 years.
Oh yeah. Well, what was
You
your
tell-
go-to when you did eat McDonald's?
Honey chicken nuggets, love. I
Okay.
just love a good nugget. Like,
Alright.
20 chicken nuggets. Me.
What dip?
Oh, gotta be a sweet and sour and a sweet curry.
Right, so here's the setup for Mackey's. So I get a large 5 chicken selects meal, large fries, and a Sprite. And then also I'll get my favourite is the garlic mozzarella dippers, but also just like whatever cheese dippers they have at that time, because it kind of revolves. And then dips, I'll get the sour cream and chive, sweet curry, and the rich tomato.
Oh, okay. Those are like the big ones, right?
The sour cream and chive's the big one.
Okay.
The rich tomato is the one that comes with the cheese stuff.
Oh, fun. Yeah, fair enough.
That's the setup when it comes to Mackey's. Just
You
go
said
for that.
Sprite. Let's say I got a Sprite from KFC today with my teriyaki burger. I'm just gonna call it teriyaki. Can't be bothered to say teriyaki. Anyway,
That's fair.
I got a Sprite, and I've just got to say that the KFC Sprite must be my favorite. Like, I don't know why. I don't know what about it. It's just amazing.
I think it's like a thing where like restaurants they use like drink fountains, and so it makes it with like syrup, and then like they add in like the sparkling water kind of stuff, and so it means it's like sweeter generally,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and like tastes like thicker, if that makes sense.
A thicker Sprite.
As in it has like a more like full taste, and it's like it tends to be a little
Yeah.
bit like thicker texture, which I know sounds
get
weird
what
when it's liquid, but it is.
Get
It's a little
what
bit
you mean.
stickier almost.
The thing I touched on a while ago was the Nando's order, and I got made
Yeah.
fun of it for so long.
You can't just hide it now. You've got to.
Yeah,
say.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
You have to open up about this.
So my
I
Nando's
can
order
probably tell because
is I don't like spice that much. So
Oh,
yeah,
How are you liking Nando's if you don't like spice?
I don't know why, but I found out they did like this barbecue thing. So I go for the barbecue double chicken wrap with just lettuce inside of it and barbecue sauce, and then plain chips, and then I think that's it. And then I get a bottomless Diet Coke. But when I first went, because I didn't realise you could get the wrap with just chips, is I got a double chicken wrap with no spice and no barbecue sauce. Normal chips and a salad.
Oh.
Who goes to a restaurant and is like, I'm gonna have a salad? No
Right,
offense, people, you might, but it's like going to McDonald's and asking for a salad. Why? Go to Tesco's, make it yourself.
Right, here's the Nando's order. So, I get double chicken pitta, hot, with peri-peri chips and either rice or the chickpeas on the side. Ooh. And then I get the lemon and herb sauce, like just the bottle. I don't get lemon and herb chicken. I get the lemon and herb sauce to like dip my chips in.
I'm just gonna say I've never been to Nando's, so
we're taking you to
Nando's. I love spice.
That's like our next meeting is gonna be at Nando's.
Are you paying, honey?
Yes.
Me and Lewis will pay for your order half and half. Okay.
There we go. Thanks. I'm getting taken out. Lovely.
That's our next. Anyway, our next meeting should actually be at Nando's.
We'll do that.
I've never been to Nando's, but I love spice, so I definitely would get something spicy.
Yeah.
Just like my personality. Oh,
I think like just hot at Nando's is a good level.
Yeah. But you never know. Who knows? When's our next meeting? I want Nando's now.
Right, like tomorrow, like 12 o'clock, or
tomorrow 12 o'clock fine. Yeah.
Then you're a dickhead.
Are you there? I think I'm going out with my mum. I don't know. Tuesday? I don't know.
Right, let's not stop planning on the podcast. So now we're going to go to a quick message from our sponsors.
Ooh.
Are you too slow and shoeless? Too dry without your Jordans? Too safe when you take your slippers off? Are your high tops not sliding how you wish they would? Then we are here to offer you the latest in frictionless technology. Whoa! Introducing Slippery Socks. When you slide, you get there right on time.
Whoa! Slippery Socks has so many happy customers!
I tell you what, I got a lot faster on the treadmill when I'm wearing my slippery socks. I love my slippery socks. I mean, golly, maybe those big wigs in Washington ought to give us the right to bear a pair of these slick jimmies right here.
Ah! Do these things even have brakes?
Don't be silly, Billy. With slippery socks, you don't need your Converse to quickly traverse. Without your Nikes, the quicker you'll hike with slippery socks.
Well, slippery socks don't offer the same protection as steel-toed boots do. They allow me to slide right out of harm's way, proper quick like.
Oh my god. When me and the galleys hit the town, these slippery socks totally keep the party rocking. Or should I say sliding.
I really can't stop! Ah! I think I'm getting motion sickness.
Just remember, if you take off your Birkenstock, it'll be a cakewalk with the new slippery socks. Buy your pair of slippery socks at your nearest branch of Top Man, and remember to tell the cashier you heard about them on Young People Know More. And they won't give you a discount, but they definitely will congratulate you on how cool you are. Now back to our scheduled programming. Buy one left sock and get one right sock free. T's and C's apply.
So that was a message from our sponsor, Slippery Socks. Thank you very much for people that sent that in.
Yes, if you have an idea for a fake advert you'd like us to make, you can either email it to us at additum.theatre@gmail.com or message us on any of our social media platforms, and you'll be in with a chance of having your advert featured in one of our episodes.
So thank you very much for watching and listening. I hope this episode's been informative. I've been Lewis.
I've been Tyler.
And I've been Ben.
You've been listening to Young People Know More. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.